The creation of the Roman Republic, 509 BCE, the birth of representative government. The fall of the Roman monarchy. In 509 BCE, Rome underwent a profound political transformation, transitioning from a monarchy to a republic. This change marked the birth of one of history's most influential systems of government, laying the foundation for representative government and shaping the political evolution of Western civilization. Before the establishment of the Roman Republic, residential publica, meaning public affair, Rome was ruled by a series of Etruscan kings, the last of whom was Lucius Tarquinius Superbus, Tarquin the Proud. His rule was characterized by tyranny and oppression, culminating in widespread dissatisfaction among the Roman nobility and common people. The final catalyst for the monarchy's downfall was the rape of Lucretia, a noblewoman, by Tarquin's son, Sextus Tarquinius. Her tragic fate sparked outrage, leading prominent Roman aristocrats, including Lucius Junius Brutus, to lead a rebellion against the monarchy. The uprising succeeded, and in 509 BCE, the monarchy was overthrown, and the Roman Republic was born. The establishment of the Republic. With the monarchy abolished, the Romans sought to create a system of government that would prevent the return of tyranny while ensuring stability and representation. The new system, the Roman Republic, was built on a foundation of shared power, checks and balances, and civic participation. 1. The new republican government structure. The Roman Republic replaced the king with a complex political system that distributed power among different institutions to avoid dictatorship. Key institutions of the Republic. Consuls, heads of government instead of a king. Rome was now led by 2 consuls, elected annually by the people. Consuls held executive power, commanded the army, and enforced laws. Each consul had the power to veto the other's decisions, ensuring no single leader could dominate. The Senate, advisory council, a powerful body made up of 300 aristocratic patricians, the Senate was responsible for advising consuls, crafting policies, and controlling state finances. Though it was initially an advisory body, it gained immense influence over time. At the assemblies, democratic element, the Republic introduced popular assemblies where Roman citizens could vote on laws, elect officials, and influence policy. These assemblies gave ordinary Romans a voice in governance, marking an early form of representative democracy. 2. The conflict between patricians and plebeians. While the Republic introduced representative principles, its early structure heavily favored the patricians, wealthy aristocrats, who controlled the Senate and most government offices. The plebeians, commoners, despite forming the majority of the population and serving in the military, had little political power. This inequality led to the struggle of the orders, 494 to 287 BCE, a centuries-long conflict in which plebeians demanded greater rights. Over time, they achieved several key victories. Tribunes of the plebs, 494 BCE, the plebeians won the right to elect tribunes, officials who could veto laws that harmed common citizens. 12 tables, 451 BCE, the first written Roman laws, which protected citizens' rights and established legal equality. Lex Hortensia, 287 BCE, ensured that laws passed by plebeian assemblies applied to all Romans, giving plebeians legislative power. These reforms gradually expanded political representation and reinforced the Republic's commitment to shared governance. Principles of the Roman Republic. The Republic system introduced several core principles of representative government that influenced later political systems, including the United States and European democracies. 1. Rule of law, lex. The 12 tables established the idea that laws, rather than rulers, should govern the state. All Roman citizens were expected to follow the same legal framework, preventing arbitrary rule. 2. Checks and balances. By dividing power among consuls, the Senate, and the assemblies, the Republic ensured that no single individual or group could dominate the government. The principle of veto power further strengthened this system. 3. Civic participation. Roman citizens had the right and duty to participate in government through voting in assemblies and serving in the military. This concept of active citizenship became a cornerstone of later democratic systems. 4. Mixed government. The Roman Republic combined elements of monarchy, consuls, aristocracy, senate, and democracy, assemblies, creating a balanced government structure. This hybrid model was later studied and admired by political philosophers like Polybius and Montesquieu. The Republic's expansion and influence. With its strong political foundation, the Roman Republic rapidly expanded beyond its city-state origins. By 264 BCE, Rome had conquered much of the Italian peninsula, and by 146 BCE, it had become the dominant power in the Mediterranean after defeating Carthage in the Punic Wars. As Rome expanded, the Republic's political system evolved but also faced challenges, including corruption and wealth inequality. The rise of wealthy elites weakened the ideals of the Republic. Military reforms and generals' power. Ambitious generals like Julius Caesar used their armies to gain political control. Civil wars and dictatorship. Internal conflicts ultimately led to the Republic's fall and the rise of the Roman Empire in 27 BCE under Augustus Caesar. Legacy of the Roman Republic. Although the Roman Republic eventually gave way to the Roman Empire, its ideas continued to shape political thought and government systems for centuries. An inspiration for modern democracies. The Republic's principles of elected leadership, checks and balances, and the rule of law influenced modern democratic governments, including the U.S. Constitution and European parliamentary systems. Legal traditions. Roman legal concepts, such as equal protection under the law and written statutes, form the foundation of modern legal codes. Civic responsibility. The Republic's emphasis on citizen participation and public service continues to be a fundamental ideal in contemporary politics. The enduring impact of the Roman Republic. The creation of the Roman Republic in 509 BCE was a groundbreaking moment in political history. By replacing monarchy with a representative government, the Romans introduced concepts that would later shape democracy, law, and governance across the world. Though it ultimately fell to internal strife and imperial ambitions, the Republic's principles of shared power, civic duty, and legal equality remain influential to this day. It serves as a timeless example of how representative government can promote stability and progress in human society. The spread of Buddhism, 5th century BCE, present a transformative influence across Asia. Introduction. The origins of Buddhism. Buddhism originated in the 5th to 4th century BCE in ancient India, founded by Siddhartha Gautama, known as the Buddha, the Enlightened One. Born as a prince in the Sakya clan, Siddhartha renounced his royal life to seek spiritual truth. Through deep meditation and insight, he attained enlightenment and developed a teaching known as the Dharma, emphasizing the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path as a way to achieve nirvana, liberation from suffering. Over the centuries, Buddhism evolved into multiple schools and spread far beyond its birthplace, influencing the spiritual, cultural, and political landscapes of Asia and beyond. 1. Early spread of Buddhism in India, 5th to 3rd century BCE. After the Buddha's death, his followers organized his teachings into an oral tradition, later written down in the Pali Canon, Theravada, and Sanskrit Sutras, Mahayana. Buddhism initially spread through monks and wandering teachers, gaining followers among the common people and intellectual elites. A major turning point came during the reign of Emperor Ashoka, 268 to 232 BCE, of the Maurya Empire. After witnessing the devastation of war, Ashoka embraced Buddhism and actively promoted it. Built monasteries, viharas, and stupas, sacred shrines. Sent missionaries to Sri Lanka, Central Asia, and Southeast Asia. Inscribed Buddhist teachings on rock edicts across his empire. This imperial support solidified Buddhism as a major religious force in India and beyond. 2. Buddhism in Sri Lanka and Southeast Asia, 3rd century BCE, present. Sri Lanka, 3rd century BCE, present. Buddhism arrived in Sri Lanka through Mahinda, the son of Emperor Ashoka, in 250 BCE. It became the dominant faith and led to the establishment of the Theravada school, which remains the primary form of Buddhism in Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand, Laos, and Cambodia today. Southeast Asia, 1st to 12th century CE. Buddhism spread to Myanmar, Thailand, Cambodia, Laos, and Vietnam via trade routes and monks from India and Sri Lanka. Over time, these regions developed unique Buddhist cultures, blending Theravada teachings with local traditions. Notable developments include the rise of Angkor Wat in Cambodia, originally Hindu but later influenced by Buddhist art and architecture. The establishment of monastic orders in Thailand and Myanmar, shaping local societies. Buddhist pilgrimage sites and royal patronage in Laos and Vietnam. By the 12th century, Buddhism had become the dominant spiritual and philosophical system in much of Southeast Asia. 3. Buddhism in Central Asia and China, 1st to 6th century CE. Central Asia, Silk Road transmission, 1st century BCE, 7th century CE. Buddhism spread along the Silk Road, carried by Indian merchants, monks, and travelers. It took root in Bactria, Sogdiana, and the Darim Basin, where Buddhist monasteries flourished as centers of learning and trade. Gandhara art, a fusion of Greek and Buddhist styles, emerged from this cultural exchange. China, arrival and integration, 1st to 6th century CE. Buddhism entered China around the 1st century CE, introduced by monks and traders from India and Central Asia. It faced initial resistance but gained widespread acceptance, especially during the Han Dynasty, 206 BCE, 220 CE, and Tang Dynasty, 618 to 907 CE. Key developments in China included a translation of Buddhist texts into Chinese, creating the Mahayana Buddhist canon, the rise of Chan, Zen Buddhism, which emphasized meditation, dhyana, over rituals. Imperial support from emperors like Emperor Wu of the Liang dynasty, who promoted Buddhist institutions. By the Tang dynasty, Buddhism was firmly established in Chinese society, influencing art, politics, and philosophy. 4. Buddhism in Korea and Japan, 4th to 9th century CE. Korea, 4th to 7th century CE. Buddhism reached Korea in the 4th century CE via China. Korean rulers sponsored monasteries, Buddhist scriptures, and artwork, shaping Korean culture and state ideology. The three kingdoms of Korea, Goguryeo, Baekje, and Silla, played key roles in Buddhism's growth. Japan, 6th to 9th century CE. Buddhism arrived in Japan from Korea in 552 CE, introduced by the Baekje kingdom. Early Japanese emperors, such as Prince Shotoku, 574 to 622 CE, promoted Buddhism as a means of national unity. By the Heian period, 794 to 1185 CE, Japan developed its own distinct Buddhist schools, such as a Zen Buddhism, which emphasized meditation and simplicity, a Pure Land Buddhism, which focused on devotion to Amitabha Buddha. Buddhism became deeply integrated into Japanese philosophy, architecture, and aesthetics. 5. Buddhism in Tibet and Mongolia, 7th to 14th century CE. Tibet, 7th century CE, present. Buddhism entered Tibet in the 7th century CE, promoted by King Songtsen Gampo. Over time, Tibet developed Vajrayana Buddhism, a tantric form incorporating rituals, mantras, and meditation techniques. The establishment of the Dalai Lama institution, 14th century CE, solidified Tibetan Buddhism's role in politics and spirituality. Mongolia, 13th to 16th century CE. The Mongol Empire, 13th century CE, under Kublai Khan, adopted Tibetan Buddhism, making it the dominant religion in Mongolia. Tibetan monks gained political influence, and Buddhist monasteries became central to Mongolian culture. 6. Buddhism in the modern era, 19th to 21st century. Colonial era challenges, 19th to 20th century. During European colonization, Buddhist institutions declined in some regions due to Western influence and Christian missionary activity. However, Buddhism remained resilient, particularly in Sri Lanka, Thailand, and Japan. Global spread, 20th to 21st century. Buddhism expanded beyond Asia in the 20th century, reaching the West through an immigration of Asian Buddhist communities, an interest in Zen, mindfulness, and meditation in the US and Europe, and the Dalai Lama's global influence in promoting Tibetan Buddhism. Today, Buddhism is one of the world's major religions, with over 500 million followers across Asia, North America, and Europe. Buddhism's lasting influence. Buddhism's spread from India to the world has had a profound impact on spirituality, culture, and philosophy. It has shaped the histories of China, Japan, Korea, Tibet, Southeast Asia, and the modern West. Despite challenges from colonialism, modernization, and political changes, Buddhism remains a living tradition, continually adapting to new cultural contexts while preserving its core teachings of wisdom, compassion, and enlightenment. The Edict of Milan, 313 CE, legalizing Christianity in the Roman Empire. The persecution of Christianity in Rome. Before the Edict of Milan in 313 CE, Christianity had endured nearly 3 centuries of persecution under the Roman Empire. Since its emergence in the 1st century CE, Christianity was seen as a threat to Roman religious traditions and state authority. Early Christians refused to worship Roman gods and the emperor, which was viewed as disloyalty to the empire. This led to sporadic persecutions, such as those under Nero, 64 CE, Decius, 250 CE, and Diocletian, 303 to 311 CE. The Great Persecution, 303 to 311 CE, under Emperor Diocletian was the most severe, resulting in mass executions, destruction of Christian texts, and imprisonment of believers. However, the situation changed dramatically in 313 CE, when Emperor Constantine I and Emperor Licinius issued the Edict of Milan, granting religious tolerance to Christians and marking a turning point in world history. 1. Background: Constantine's rise to power. The political landscape of the Roman Empire was in turmoil in the early 4th century CE. The empire was divided into 4 rulers under the Tetrarchy, but power struggles erupted. Constantine I emerged as a key contender, ruling the Western Roman Empire. Licinius ruled the Eastern Empire after defeating Maximinus Daia. In 312 CE, Constantine defeated his rival, Maxentius, at the Battle of the Milvian Bridge. According to Christian tradition, before this battle, Constantine had a vision of a cross in the sky with the words, "In hoc signo vinces," "In this sign, you shall conquer." He ordered his soldiers to paint Chi-Rho, a Christian symbol, on their shields and won the battle. This victory led Constantine to embrace Christianity and seek religious tolerance for Christians throughout the empire. 2. The Edict of Milan, 313 CE. In 313 CE, Constantine and Licinius met in Milan and issued the Edict of Milan, which declared 1. Religious freedom for all. Christianity was granted legal status, allowing Christians to worship freely without persecution. 2. Restoration of confiscated Christian property. Churches, lands, and homes previously taken from Christians were returned. 3. End of religious persecution. The Roman state officially abandoned the policy of suppressing Christianity. 4. Equality among religions. The edict extended religious tolerance to all faiths, not just Christianity, promoting religious pluralism. Unlike earlier policies, the Edict of Milan was not a single legal decree but rather an imperial agreement ensuring the protection of religious minorities within the empire. 3. Impact of the edict on Christianity. The Edict of Milan marked a turning point for Christianity, allowing it to transition from a persecuted minority to the dominant religion of the Roman Empire. 1. Christianity becomes an imperial religion. Christianity gained political legitimacy, attracting imperial support. Constantine himself became a patron of the Church, funding the construction of Christian basilicas, such as Old St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, the Church of the Holy Sepulchre in Jerusalem. Bishops were given official roles, influencing governance and law. 2. Growth and organization of the Church. With newfound freedom, Christian communities could openly gather, preach, and spread their teachings. Councils and theological debates flourished, leading to doctrinal unity within Christianity. 3. Shift in Roman society and culture. Pagan traditions began to decline, as Christianity gained state sponsorship. The Sabbath, Sunday, was recognized as a day of rest and worship under Constantine. Christian symbols, such as the cross, appeared on coins, banners, and imperial insignia. 4. Long-term consequences. The Edict of Milan set the stage for Christianity's dominance in the Roman Empire and beyond. 1. The Council of Nicaea, 325 CE. Constantine convened the First Council of Nicaea to settle disputes over Christian doctrine, leading to the Nicene Creed, which defined Orthodox Christian beliefs. 2. Theodosius I and the Edict of Thessalonica, 380 CE. By the late 4th century, Emperor Theodosius I took Constantine's policies further by issuing the Edict of Thessalonica, 380 CE, which made Christianity the official state religion of the Roman Empire. Paganism was outlawed, and Christian influence spread across Europe. 3. Influence on medieval and modern Europe. The Roman Catholic Church became the dominant institution in Western Europe. Christianity shaped European laws, philosophy, and culture, influencing medieval kingdoms and the Holy Roman Empire. 4. Religious tolerance and the concept of freedom of religion. The Edict of Milan introduced the idea of religious tolerance in Western legal thought. It influenced later concepts of religious freedom found in modern constitutions, including the First Amendment of the U.S. Constitution. A turning point in religious history. The Edict of Milan, 313 CE, was one of the most significant milestones in world history, marking the end of Christian persecution and the beginning of Christianity's rise as a global religion. It allowed Christianity to flourish, shaping the cultural, political, and religious landscape of Europe and the Western world. The principles of religious tolerance introduced in the edict influenced later civilizations and legal systems. By legalizing Christianity, the Edict of Milan transformed the Roman Empire and laid the foundation for Christianity's central role in global history, impacting societies from antiquity to the present day. The fall of the Western Roman Empire, 476 CE, the end of an era and the birth of feudalism. Introduction. The legacy of Rome. The Western Roman Empire, once the dominant power of the Mediterranean world, collapsed in 476 CE, marking the end of ancient Rome and the transition into the Middle Ages. This event profoundly reshaped Europe, leading to the rise of feudal societies, the fragmentation of centralized government, and the dawn of medieval kingdoms. Although the Eastern Roman Empire, Byzantine Empire, survived for another 1,000 years, the fall of the Western Roman Empire signified the end of antiquity in Western Europe. The collapse was not a single event, but a result of long-term internal weaknesses and external pressures. 1. Causes of the fall of the Western Roman Empire. The decline of Rome was a gradual process spanning centuries, influenced by multiple interwoven factors. 1. Political instability and corruption. The empire suffered from weak leadership, assassinations, and civil wars. Frequent power struggles saw generals seizing the throne through military force. A bureaucratic corruption weakened the efficiency of governance. 2. Economic decline and heavy taxation. Rome's economy suffered due to overtaxation, inflation, and declining trade. The empire relied heavily on slave labor, and as expansion slowed, fewer slaves were available. A widening gap between rich and poor caused social unrest. 3. Military weakness and over-reliance on mercenaries. The once powerful Roman legions became increasingly reliant on foreign mercenaries, foederati. These mercenaries, often Germanic tribesmen, had divided loyalties and sometimes turned against Rome. 4. Barbarian invasions and the sack of Rome. Germanic tribes, such as the Visigoths, Vandals, and Ostrogoths, migrated into Roman territory, fleeing the advance of the Huns from Central Asia. 410 CE, sack of Rome by the Visigoths, led by Alaric, shocked the empire. 455 CE, Vandals sacked Rome, further destabilizing the city. 476 CE, the final blow came when Odoacer deposed the last Roman emperor, Romulus Augustulus. 2. The fall of Rome in 476 CE. The decisive event marking the end of the Western Roman Empire occurred in 476 CE when Odoacer, a Germanic chieftain, deposed the last emperor, Romulus Augustulus. Odoacer declared himself king of Italy, refusing to recognize Roman authority. The Eastern Roman emperor in Constantinople, Zeno, did not intervene, effectively ending Roman rule in the West. Although Rome as a city remained, its empire was no more. The world entered a new era dominated by fragmented kingdoms and decentralized rule. 3. The aftermath, the shift to feudal societies. The fall of the Western Roman Empire fundamentally altered European civilization, leading to the formation of feudal societies. 1. The fragmentation of political power. The Roman imperial system collapsed, and Europe split into various barbarian kingdoms, e.g., Visigoths in Spain, Franks in Gaul, Ostrogoths in Italy. A centralized government was replaced by local rulers and warlords who controlled regions independently. 2. The rise of feudalism, 9th to 10th century CE. Without a strong central authority, land became the basis of power. Kings granted land, fiefs, to nobles, lords, in exchange for military service. Peasants, serfs, worked the land in return for protection. This system, known as feudalism, dominated medieval Europe for centuries. 3. The role of the Catholic Church. As Rome's political structure crumbled, the Christian Church became the stabilizing force. The Bishop of Rome, the Pope, gained power, filling the leadership vacuum. The Church influenced medieval laws, education, and governance. 4. The lasting impact of Rome's fall. The fall of the Western Roman Empire had far-reaching consequences that shaped European history. 1. The Dark Ages, 5th to 10th century CE. Urban centers declined, literacy rates dropped, and classical knowledge was lost. Europe became economically and culturally isolated compared to the Byzantine Empire and Islamic caliphates. 2. The preservation of Roman culture. Roman law, architecture, and Latin language influenced medieval societies. The Byzantine Empire preserved Roman traditions and legal systems, Justinian's Code. 3. The birth of modern European kingdoms. The fall of Rome set the stage for the emergence of medieval European states like France, England, and the Holy Roman Empire. The Franks, under Charlemagne in the 8th century, revived imperial traditions, laying the groundwork for modern Europe. The end of Rome, the beginning of the Middle Ages. The fall of the Western Roman Empire in 476 CE was one of history's most pivotal moments, signaling the transition from antiquity to the medieval world. It marked the end of a centralized imperial system and the rise of localized feudal societies, fundamentally shaping European civilization. While the empire collapsed, its legacy lived on, influencing law, governance, religion, and culture for centuries. The Middle Ages, born from Rome's ashes, set the foundation for the Europe we know today.